And welcome everyone to the Fortheboys podcast, season 2, episode 3. Welcome, boys. How we all doing?
Yeah, pretty good.
Muffy, are you on mute or?
I'm here.
Never love the mic, but welcome everyone to the Fortheboys podcast. So this is just a safe space or platform just to share our experiences and share to the share it out to everyone. So if you're on tuning in from the chat, thank you for jumping on. So I'm Teza. I'm one of the admins of the group, and then you got Muffy. What's up, Muffy?
So, boss, just this quick disclaimer, man, that none of us here on this podcast, and man, we've been doing it for what, the whole season now. None of us are professionals, man. None of us professionals. We just do this thing out of past experiences in life, stories we've heard, and just basically through discussions, something that we've trying to get better and better at every time. So man, not one of us are professionals at this. Yeah, and then have a chat. Super.
That's it. Then we've got Chief. Chief, welcome.
So, boys, just on what Muffy said. Just want to help someone else who might have experienced what we've been through. Or, you know how it goes. Just hope we can give you something out of tonight's episode.
And then we always have that one person that makes the grand entrance.
So, boys.
That's
What's up, bro? Welcome to your show.
It'll take you that long to put your posters up in the back office.
So, heaps of traffic. Heaps of traffic.
So thank you guys again.
Muffy.
Thank you guys again. We just want to tap in. We just want to let everyone know if you have any questions for the panel, for the team. Just throw it out there. Just throw it out there if you got any questions, and we'll try and
fight my school.
ask our guests.
I think the chat is commenting about your mic there, Tessa. I think you got auto-tunes.
It was a bit stuck, Didn't
know we had T-Pain
before
on.
I do that, we'll chuck on one of the panel members. We've got Chris.
Hello.
Hey. After this, can I get the shoulder regime?
Hello, you haven't seen the bottom part. It's very round.
That's why all our cameras are at the same height.
Yes. With that note, go back up.
Hey, welcome, Chris. Welcome, bro.
What's up, Chris?
Oh,
Thanks
for having me, guys. Pleasure.
Yeah, bro. Just a quick intro about yourself, brother. Just so all our millions of viewers can get a fair understanding. Millions.
Yes. My name's Chris. I'm Tongan. I'm from out Ep3. So nothing flash about myself. Nothing cool. Just your average Tongan guy, just trying to make a buck a day. So
Nice. Glad to have you on, bro.
Thank you, man.
And again,
Thanks for joining us.
just a shout out to the chat for the millionth time. If you do want to join in at some stage, throw us a message and we'll try to add you on. Should we get started? Get straight into it. We're about 14 minutes late anyway.
No other way. Who's up the guts?
Let's go.
Sweet. So tonight's guest we have on tonight is it'll be a personal one because basically the treatment that he's gotten at the beginning of his I think how it got handled by the police and everything. It was quite personal because I seen everything going down, and just as I stated in the post that we put up regarding it, I'll just bring on the brother, and then he can explain the story instead of me taking over the show.
So Terry.
But yeah, welcome to the brother Ian Toki. We'll bring him on.
Hey everyone.
Hey,
So,
Hello, yeah.
What's
Maozo.
up?
Everyone. Hey, hello. Hey, thanks for having me. Eh?
Maus,
Yeah,
thanks
bro.
for accepting the invite.
Welcome. Yeah.
All good, bro. It's a privilege.
Even though we've been trying for a couple of weeks and you declined the offer last week.
I was on another podcast, but
Oh, got better offers, eh?
jokes.
Oh,
yeah.
I told you to deliver Uber Eats, Terry. Ah.
Hey, they would have won me. They would have won me.
He wanted some of that Tanzus.
Now, welcome, bro. Welcome to the show. Just before we get into, I guess, the deep stuff, a short introduction, and then, yeah,
Cool.
we'll go for it.
Hey everybody. My name is Ian. Born and raised in Otara. Currently live out in Drury at the moment. But I still get to work and play in my hood in Otara. I'm Cook Island. I'm also Terry or Teza's older brother, and yeah, so that's pretty much me.
Is that the show? Is it finished?
8 minutes, we got it.
Now,
no, just a few other things. Sorry. This is my first time on a podcast, so the reason why I probably didn't accept the invite the last couple of weeks is because not only because it's my first time, I'm also not used to getting in front of the camera,
Oh,
let
fair
alone
enough, bro. Fair enough.
sharing my story. But I've been watching a few of the podcasts on the page, and I thought, man, there's something there. And I felt like some of the stories I heard as a recent RE story, it blew my mind, to be honest, and some gold nuggets in there that I thought, even though I probably didn't walk the similar journey to him, I still felt connected, and so here I am tonight to share my part and share my story, in the hope that that maybe it can be some takeaways for those out there listening. But it's an honor and a privilege to be on this platform, and I just want to give a lot of kudos to you guys for this awareness about mental health, because us PI men, we don't want to share, we don't want to talk to anybody about our problems, but
That's it, Lewis.
this platform allows that to happen, and you guys make it personal, but it's in a way where you're comfortable. So yeah, thanks guys.
I appreciate that. Lewis.
Soros.
Boys.
I don't know if the audio is playing up. If everyone can hear me properly. Yeah.
I think you're doing the
Sound like
Robocop
your
voice also.
Robocopus.
All this time, 1 hour later, and you're still cracking your.
So there's a season 2. So there's no good look. So
Anyways,
Can you hear me?
moving forward.
Yeah.
No, we can hear you. It's just cracky when you took us. But yeah, all good. Just get your mic.
Yeah, just like the brother said, Ian, we're passionate about mental health, and we're just trying to break the barriers between how we were growing up as a youngin and to what we are now as adults. We're trying to break that barrier because I know for sure growing up, and Ian, just between us, we men never spoke about their problems. So this is why this platform being created. Yeah, I don't know, Chris, if you've ever experienced something like that. The island culture, we're never to speak of anything really. Not just don't talk about all the soft things.
I think just to touch on that, it's probably pretty much the pride in us. I think it's in the way of our expressing our emotions to our friends and families,
Yeah.
and probably a lot of us come from an upbringing that's quite strict, and yeah, it's a very sensitive topic.
Yeah.
But one we're all too familiar with, eh? You see all the head nods in the chat.
That's sweet. So yeah. So we'll throw it over to Ian, and yeah, if you want to go ahead with your journey, bro.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, guys. To be honest, I've had since Sunday to think about like how I was gonna kick this off and stuff like this. But to be honest, I still don't have a clue how to start this. But I guess I'm just gonna share a little bit about my life before that experience in my life. Also, before I start, just for everyone out there, even the boys, they, feel free to ask me any questions. There's no questions that will offend me. So just open up if you feel like you need to really ask a question. Just ask away, because I know that those are sort of what everyone wants to do. But I just thought I'll mention that before I start. Yeah. So as I mentioned in the beginning, being a young PI boy growing up in Otara, as a kid, you don't see sort of, you can't sort of foresee what's gonna happen in life. And so as a kid, you're like growing up. When you grow up, you're like it's all innocent and everything, and that's for every kid, eh? And but yeah, I did most of my schooling in Otara. I went primary school in Otara. Um, we we lived. We only moved two places, and that was from Otara to closer to Otara town centre. And so I pretty much lived all my life there. I come from a family of 10. Um, five girls, five boys. I just want to shout out to my family because I know that this journey, they know about this journey very well. But I just also want to give them a heads up that there's going to be a few things that I'm going to share that they've never heard before. Um, I never knew when the right time was, to be honest. I've been I've been out of prison for almost 15 years. So for 15 years, this is something that my fams haven't heard. I guess in some sort of way, I think I wanted to save them the heartache and the pain because I knew they were going through a lot of pain with this experience. So yeah, just a little heads up. And for those who are tuning in for the first time, um, I just want to thank them also for just wanting to hear this. So as a young kid, I grew up in Otara. Dad being a staunch Catholic, he had plans for us to go to a Catholic school. So one of them was De La Salle and St. Peter's College. I think in the first week, we got invited into St. Peter's, and yeah, and that was it. We ended up going to St. Peter's College, me and my older brother, and to me it was kind of like it was quite shattering for me because my dream as a kid was to go through the schools and follow my friends from primary, which was Ferguson Intermediate, and then either Tangaroa or Hillary. But yeah, that wasn't to be, and as fun as it is now, it wasn't a joke back then. I really wanted to go to those schools because that's where my mates were. But because the old man had other plans, we ended up going to St. Peter's. I didn't finish school. I pretty much got booted in sixth form. But I have some lifelong mates from St. Peter's College, which is always good. And most of them are from the south. Most of them being in Mangere. So I kind of grew up in part of my life in Mangere as well. I still had my mates during my childhood, and most of them went to De La Salle, and they're still lifelong mates today too. I've also what do you call it? Yeah, so um, that whole experience at St. Peter's was quite a culture shock to me. Being a little boy from Otago, and then all of a sudden you're going into town, you're busing into town and going to school. I didn't even know what a bus was, to be honest. And my first day going to St. Peter's, I was thinking, shit. I actually thought that the world was Otago. I didn't know there was anything outside of that. And that was the truth. Even though, as a kid, you go to church services, you go to events outside of Otago. But for me, because I lived such a long time in Otago as a kid, I thought that Otago was just this. And so all of that stuff I was contending with when I attended St. Peter's. And the first day in St. Peter's, I couldn't believe how many white people there were. And that kind of that kind of scared me, eh? That really scared me because I don't know. I think I made it harder for myself because, like, I was quite a top shooter at primary, and then coming into this sort of environment with a whole lot of white people, your perception is always that, when you see them on TV, these people are bright people, and that's my perception. They're there because they're famous, because they worked hard, and you rarely saw Pacific Islanders on TV. And so my perception of them was they were up here and I was down here. And so, I remember always going to work with the old man. The old man made us go to work at such a young age, and he had his reasons for that. And the bosses were white, so everywhere I was going, you know, I just saw white people. They were just on a pedestal, And as a kid, I always had that mentality that, shucks, I want to be there, but how do I get there? Do I have to change the color of my skin? And that's when I went through my first experience of, that whole cultural identity. Um, anyway, further to my experience at school at St. Peter's, I obviously didn't finish, as I mentioned. I basically went to school just to play rugby, catch up with my mates, and eat my lunch and eat other people's lunch. And so that, to be honest, that was like
That's what I done too. That's probably copying you when you went to school.
We've got to watch out how we influence our young ones.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah. I mean, that was just the truth. I didn't really go to school for what it was. I was struggling in education, and the thing is that you can't tell your old man about that because there's only one answer. You either get a hiding and you get told to go work harder because he sacrificed everything. He sacrificed everything to put us in that school. And there was nothing less. He wanted nothing less from us. He didn't have the opportunity. He came from the islands, for better life for us as kids. And so, it was a big sacrifice for him because me and my older brother, we're the oldest two, and then there's 8 others that had to go, that he had to look at too. And how's he going to put them through if we're mucking around? But the whole entire time he didn't know that. He was still proud. When we were making our our rugby teams and our first teams and stuff. But it obviously came to a screeching halt when one day in my sixth form year, my parents, I was called to the office, and my parents were there, and just the look on their face, I felt, I really let them down, and I just couldn't believe it. They caught me off guard, and so that was an experience and a half. And normally I was, the whole entire time, the dean, our sixth form dean was just, basically, well, at the time, I thought he was just talking smack to my parents. And basically, every time he was saying this and this, and I was doing that, this is the reason I'm here. And there's only one option. He either leave school or we kick him out. And so, and the whole entire time in my mind, I was just thinking about the big um, love smack that I was going to get when I get home. I didn't even hear a single word that the dean said because I was so scared of the old man. I just said, "Fuck, man." And honestly, like I hadn't been so angry at somebody before, especially an adult. Just the whole, just the things he was saying to the old man and the old lady. I was just like, man, this is it. You know, it's one thing getting kicked out of school, but I don't even know if I'm gonna live to see the next day. you know. Um, but to my surprise, the old man didn't say a word, and in some sort of way, there was there was worse than him not giving me a hiding. It's like shucks, man. And the look on his face was just disappointment, eh? And I just went, yeah, I just stayed quiet when we got home, and that was the longest drive. Sorry, that was the longest drive ever. And I've been on some long drives, but it just felt like we drove up and down New Zealand, bro, like 10 times. And it's funny because the old man came and picked us up in the van, and the old lady jumped in the back seat. Yeah, the old lady jumped in the back seat, and I said, "Mum, jump in the front. Jump in the front. I'm awkward." And then I'll jump in the back. The old backhands, bro. I was waiting for it, eh? And but nah, yeah. So the old man didn't say a word, and knowing me, I'm always trying to get myself out of trouble. So I try to justify the whole situation on the way home, and the old man just didn't say a thing. When I got home, all he said, because it was only a couple of months before Christmas, the old man just said to me, "So what are you gonna do?" And I said, "Oh, I'll just get a job." Like I was confident as, eh? I'll just get a job, Dad. And then he goes, "Oh, yeah, you better get a job, otherwise you're gonna come work with me." And I don't know if you guys have ever heard the experience about working with the old man, but trust me, I don't know. The reason, the reason I'm in a good job today is that's the reason. 'Cause I never ever want to go there again. Like honestly, bro. The 3 a.m. morning starts to the 6, like 3 a.m. to 6 p.m. And the old man worked at an aluminum factory, so you're out there on the factory floor just putting windows together the whole entire time, and then you get breaks. But because my dad was the manager of the factory,
Oh no.
there was no such thing as breaks.
Yeah,
And so we used to like,
that's the hardest part.
yeah.
That's the hardest part because he expects you to be the best.
Wow.
So, like, if you f up, you have to go to someone else, not my dad.
Yeah, we had a lot of old Tongan and Samoa mates that that whole entire experience because we were running to them to fix our shit, and so it was a bit of an experience, and it wasn't until the end of it where I actually realized and understood what he was trying to achieve with us. Not just me, but all my brothers. He even took all my cousins to work with them, to teach us all life experience. Um, but yeah, I ended up getting me a job. Oh, well, sorry, no. the rest of the months leading into Christmas, I had a plan. If I wasn't going to get a job, then I was going to go study. I think the reality hit for me when I applied for a job at McDonald's in Otago. They were hiring, and basically I went home all confident, thinking, "Oh, I always St. Peter's, I'm going to get the job easy." And then I got a call, and they said, "You didn't get the job." And I was like, "Hey," I was like, "Seriously, who doesn't get a job at McDonald's?" And I'm like, "Oh, I mean, I'm not offense, but at that time, like straight up, man, my cousins from the islands were getting jobs there." And I was
Oh,
thinking,
no.
shucks, bro, this is not on. Anyway, I applied for the job another 8 times. Right. And that's the experience I share with anyone that least gets kicked out of school, bro. You don't want to get, the problem for me was, and I had a bit of pride in me, like thinking, shucks, I'll get a job easy at McDonald's. You know, the thing is, the shame factor wasn't that I didn't get the job. I mean, sorry, I was going to work at McDonald's. The shame factor was getting declined, and that's when it hit home for me. And I thought, shucks, if I can't get a job there, I won't get a job anywhere. And that's when reality set in. Then the following year, I said I'm going to go back and study. I sooner went back to school and to MIT, and I wrote and I started again. I started from foundation. I worked my way up, and got a few colleagues under my belt. Went back and applied for jobs, and then I got them. That's when I realized how important the paper was, and and I became an advocate throughout the rest of my life, even before and after, before my time, in terms of getting that paper, right? And that's when I realized that's what the old man was talking about. I thought school was just going and hanging out with your mates, but it was important to come away for quality, and we're always been close. I gained some mates through MIT, and we started doing the same thing, and then it was just the same lifestyle that most of kids our age, most of the things we get up to when we were their age, and that was going out to clubs, drinking, and stuff like that. That whole lifestyle. And then I was working at Peter Baker Travels at the time. I got the job for another mate that I grew up with, and then there was a point in my life where I actually felt, oh shucks, I actually don't want to work here forever. So I made a decision to actually look at something else. I was fortunate that through one of my best mates that there was a job offer at Armaguard, and I thought, man, that's got to be better than this. So my role at Armaguard, without going too much into detail, was we're just loading up all the ATM machines, and basically that was it. So we'll just go from one machine to another, all over South and East Auckland, and we'll load up these machines. And I think it's probably worth sharing that, a little bit of detail about what I was actually doing, because that's kind of what led to what was going to come next. So basically, on that run, what do you call it? So we do two pickups and drop-offs a day, and so we call them the morning and afternoon load. And so on a morning load, we'll carry about at least 7 mil in our van, and that was just for the morning load. And sometimes it's about the same in the afternoon, or maybe more. But well, basically 14 to 15 mil a day. And see, that job I was only on a $10 an hour, and but the thing I liked about the job was that no matter if you work the full week or you work one day, you still get the same pay. So I didn't realize that I was going to get complacent at some stage. I had worked there for a total of 6 months before that incident happened. But prior to that, I think I had gotten to a point because I still wanted that nightlife and go off my mates, go to the clubs. And back then, Carlton Bar was the bar to go to on the Thursday nights for students. So I was, that was me. I was hitting that nightlife, and I went from working a 5-day week to like actually a 1-day week, and I was lying about the other 4 days, because I was just trying to get over my hangover. And back then, I wasn't doing any very illicit drugs, but I was smoking weed, and it was constant, like every day, So I was just filling my body up with all that stuff, and I think the worst thing though was the alcohol. And a lot of people say Cook Islanders know how to drink. Well, I think I kind of proved it in 6 months during that experience. But I was just drinking right through to when the clubs closed, carrying on, and back then when I started drinking, when I was going to MIT, I was drinking and going to classes drunk and stuff like that. So it just carried on into my work. And then one day, the guy that trained me up at Armaguard, we went. It was a normal day. We went and done a job, but by lunchtime we actually got a call. We on our RT we got a call. We got a call to come back to base. And anyway, we got there. There were some men in suits, and they separated us. They separated us straight away. And I thought, man, I wonder what's going on. So we went into separate meeting rooms, and then they sat down and just asked us questions like about each other. Well, they asked me questions about their guy, and then I said, well, I'm not too sure. Like, I didn't really know how to answer the questions, to be honest. But at that point, I kind of realized what was going on. There was an investigation, so there was a bit of theft going on our run. But I didn't know what was going on, and it wasn't targeting me, but they weren't targeting me, they were targeting the other guy. Anyway, by the time we ended the interview, the other guy was walking out with his handcuffs around the back, and I thought, shucks. And then they actually told me what actually happened. But that afternoon, we got called back to our boss's house, the whole team. And we've got another team that does North Shore and Central. So they got called back too. We finished our runs and we went back to the house. And then we had a big meeting about what happened with the other guy. So basically, he got caught stealing the money as we were loading the machines. And so when we load the machines, one guy goes to the back with the cash and loads it from the back in the safe. That's how you guys get your money when you go to the hole in the wall. And then I go to the wall. I go to the front part, and then I load it on digitally. And then, but at the time when he was loading the machine, he was also taking cash from the canisters, the boxes that we load into the machines. But that day, they had a camera. They had a hidden camera in the back room, and to be honest, you wouldn't have been able to see it. It was like as small as an ant. And so the next time we went there, we had a look, and it was there. And so the fellow had been working with the company for many, many years, like over 10. And so I don't know how long that had been going for, but yeah. And I was unfortunate because I actually know him away from work, because the guy that one of my best mates that gave me the job, it's his family that runs that run. So they're kind of cousins, and so I actually know them. I could kind of grew up with them. So it was quite sad. I didn't really think about what he'd done. I just thought it was quite sad that he's not going to be working with us. Anyway, after that, I kind of felt, oh, shucks, I don't want to work here anymore, but I still want to get paid. I went straight back into that life. Went to work once a week and stuff like that. And then one day, then I got a new boss, and I didn't really get on well with him. It was an Indian guy, and he took over the run. But apparently he was going to take, so our boss was going to retire, so he was going to take over the whole thing. So he was jumping on board just to see how it works and stuff. He took over, but it didn't last long. I actually got sick. I got sick for 2 weeks. Then I returned back to work, and this is probably when it gets into that story. that I'm online to share. So basically, what happened is that after 2 weeks, obviously I got better, and then I wanted to return back to work. And it was I still remember like it was like literally like yesterday or 5 minutes ago. Like it's still so clear in my head because I didn't have time to think about how it all went wrong. And like any other day, we always try to start early in the morning. So we get picked up around about 3, and we go to the base and load all the canisters, all the cash into the van, and then we sort of know what our route is, and so, but that a week before that, sorry, I don't know if you guys remember the first ever Pix cameras that came out. Oh, sorry, Pix phones that came out. There was 2. There was a flip one and a Nokia. The Nokia one had a round dial. It wasn't like your normal phone. We all had those Alcatels when we were growing up, and that's when I made an investment and I upgraded to a Nokia phone. And the only thing about having that Nokia phone is that you can't text and drive, right? Because that it's in a round dial and you can't find the letters like if you had an Alcatel. And anyway, I had purchased that phone and it was me. The following week, I went back to work, and the Indian guy came and picked me up. And so we did as what we do as per usual. We went to the base, loaded up. Then we set out our plan to load and which machines we're going to load first. So they were in Mangere. One was at the Mangere Airport drive-through, and the second one was at the Mangere Town Centre, which as we know, all Mangere, the machines and most of the machines are inside the mall, right? And so anyway, yeah, we set up and loaded, and we went straight to our first drop off. But on the way there, because I was the driver, and it's a manual van, so I knew I couldn't text, so I just chucked my my phone into the center console. My passenger, or the soon-to-be boss, he asked me, "Oh man, that's a mean phone," and I said, "Oh yeah, have a look at it." And then back then, you didn't put locks on your phone, so he had a look at it, playing around with it. Then we got to the first load. Done the first load, he was still looking at my phone on the way to Mangere Town. We got to Mangere Town, and then we're the Domino's at the moment. There used to be a doctor's surgery there, and we used to use the back door we used to unlock the back door and to get inside so we can load the machines inside. But the process is when you get to any venue that the one person goes in, unlocks, disarms the alarm, and make sure that everything's all good before we enter. The whole time the cash is still in the van. Then when he comes out, he opens the sliding door, and then these 4 canisters, they're like the size of a shoebox, and then one little bin we call the purge bin, and that's where we call it the rubbish bin. That's where all the money gets fully dispensed. So you'll notice that when you go to the ATM machine, that you don't get any cash that's ripped, got bunny ears and stuff like that. You'll just get perfect cash, right? But if the machine picks it up, it dispenses it into that rubbish bin. It can't be used again. And so that's that 5th bin. And that load that day was 160K just for that one machine. The process for where we work was, I think I can share it because they totally changed their process anyway. And was that he grabs the cash, then but he signals to me, I'm in the driver's seat. I get out, he opens the door, he grabs the cash, and then I follow him in, behind him, keeping him safe. Because at that time, it's about 4 a.m. There's no one on the streets. There's no one. We prefer to do all of our loads as much as possible before any foot traffic. So anyway, we go in, I close the door behind him, and then we just go in and do the load and stuff, and then come back out again. Well, that's this specific day or morning. He didn't do that. I was still waiting in the driver's seat. Then all of a sudden, I just looked to the back, and he's opened the sliding door without signaling to me. He grabs 2 canisters and just runs inside. And I said, "Hang on, wait," you know. And then, because I thought, yeah, it was odd, but I didn't have time to think about it. So I quickly jumped out, grabbed the rest of the canisters, closed the door, and then I ran in behind him. And then there's a little latch that keeps the door open, jammed. So that when we're going in, because there's no handle on the door, so I open the door, go in, pull the latch in to lock it behind me. The lights are on at this time. The next minute, the lights go out. And then I thought, it's no time to be playing jokes. You know, it's my first day back in 2 weeks. And then next minute, so basically the lights go off. And then a guy puts something to the back of my neck. And to be honest, it felt like a gun. Well, I told the police it was. I couldn't see it. And just the emotions that were running through my head at the time, I quickly realized this shit was real, because the voice didn't sound like the Indian guy, and it didn't sound like anyone that I was familiar with. And all he said in a calm voice was, "Do as I say, and you won't get hurt." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Anyway, he puts me to the ground, ties me up, and at that time, I didn't even know where the other fellow was, and because I'm lying face down on the ground. Then he does something, and then he comes back. I just hear a bit of rattling. Then he comes back, unties me, and tells me to put the cash from the canister into a bag. And because it's so dark, but you can see the outlining of the bag. Anyway, I do as best as I can, because at that time I'm thinking, shit, I'm gonna die. So you try to do everything so fast so that in the hope that he's not going to get agitated or stuff like that, and just will leave us alone. Anyway, I done all of that stuff, and he ties me again after I've done. Runs into the room, because there's a room to the right, where the back door is. There's another ATM machine there, but we weren't filling that machine up. But that's where the CCTV footage is. And so at that point, I knew it's someone that knows this run. Anyway, I can hear him taking the cassette tape out, but I'm hoping that that's it, and he gaps it, doesn't do anything left, anything to us, and then he's gone. It only literally took under a minute. It felt really long at the time, but it was honestly, it was a quick job. It was so fast, and once he was gone, I could make out an image in front of me when I was lying down, and it was my partner, my coworker. And then I just see him get up, and I asked him, "Were you tired?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Because did it look like it? Because you're getting up, Because if your hands tied behind your back, how are you standing up?" And even still, I didn't click. He untied me. There's a peephole in the back door, so we were having a look to see if we were still there. We could see nothing, so we went back to the van, and then we pushed up. There's a panic button under the dashboard, and we pushed that. We also rang them, and they were there quick, the cops, So, and that was Tuesday. Anyway, they took us in for questioning. We both gave the same statement as according to what happened that day. Then Armaguard decided to let us go home, and return when we're comfortable. They were good. They were really good. And then again, because so much shit was going. Sorry for my language, but so much stuff was going through my head. I actually, when I got home that afternoon, my old lady was at home, and she just asked me, "Are you okay?" And it just really hit me actually as to actually what happened. What happened to me. Like I actually really thought I was gonna die. I just broke down. And cried, and I don't really do that. And so the old lady was just comforting me and stuff like that. And and it was just the old lady at the time, man. What do you call it? So when the family came home, everyone heard about it. It came up on the radio and everything, and they knew it was me. And so I got to share the story with them. I got to share the story with them, and it was really hard to share that story because, so many emotions. I was going through so many emotions, and I didn't even know how to control it. It didn't help because I know I normally go out and drink with the boys, but one of my other good mates who stays in Mangere actually called me up and goes, "Hey, bro, come over for a few drinks. We'll go out, so you can get your mind off things." So I thought, oh yeah, that's the right thing to do. So we went out. I went out to Mangere, had a few drinks with the boys. Then we actually went and hit Away in Mangere, and we went there first, and then some of the boys actually wanted to go into town to Carlton Bar. So we went into Carlton, and I also remember my sister. My sister was also going out. She said, "Oh, come out with us," because she was going to Carlton as well. So I said, "Oh, I'm heading out there anyway. I'll see you out there." We got there. The boys left. They went to another club, and I just stayed because I knew my sister was there. My sister dropped me off home after at the end of the night. Went home and crashed out. And in the morning, at 7 a.m. in the morning, there was two detectives just standing over me. And then I said to them, "What are you guys up to?" And then they go, "Oh, we just want to ask if we can take you in for questioning." And because I don't know my rights, and like,
Oh, bro,
I said,
before you go on, so when this happened, I think I was young as, and I think I was the one answering the door, and then the cops the two of them came in their suits, and so they basically stood there, knocked on the door, and goes, "Hey, how you doing?" and asked me, "Is your brother home?" I was like, "Yeah, he's in the room. What did you want?" And they go, "Oh, we just need to speak to you." Without even asking us if we can come in, they started making their way through the door.
Wow.
Without saying anything. And then I think my mum must have go, "Hey, what are you doing in here?" You go, "No, there's nothing to be worried about. Nothing to be worried about." But by that time, they were already
In the lounge.
basically heading towards
Yeah.
Ian's room.
What the
Yeah,
hell?
they were basically there. So without even saying anything, they just said, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's gonna be. We're just gonna ask him easy questions." And they acted as though that situation was,
All good.
like okay.
Yeah.
To me, being that young, I was like, "Oh, stuff it. Go
Yeah.
go through
It's over
Your
here.
fault.
Go through and arrest my brother now.
You just shut the door to the left.
Yeah, you want me to?
You should not open the door.
You want me to help you? Yeah, give me your cup.
Oh no!
How you didn't wear your
Yeah.
shoes?
Basically, this is what I done. I don't know. No, but that's basically what happened. Like I think it was,
Oh.
because at home our doors are always open, and these guys are already knocking on the door, foot already inside the house.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, oh yeah, no, yeah,
I can just imagine you.
Fuzzy.
Wow.
and that's how,
Terry, man.
and that's how.
So like, your escape plan was
Oh, Tezza, man.
Snitch, what a snitch.
No,
Sorry, we're getting a bit deep. Sorry.
No, we know who the snitches.
Oh,
Far out, mate.
sorry.
Yo, man.
So like, you belong to who
I'll
now?
mute my mic now, okay?
You belong to who? You're not right side anymore.
Awesome guys. It's funny. I can laugh at it now, but back then I wasn't laughing.
Yeah.
I was gonna cry. But no, honestly, when I wake up and then those two detectives were standing over me, it honestly felt like they were actually standing over me and they were trying to make a statement because that's how I felt that time. And they gave me. It felt like they put pressure on me without saying anything. They asked me politely, but it's just the way they were doing it. I think they had a plan from the beginning as to what they were going to do. And by this point, it was Friday of the same week that we got robbed. So they just said, yeah, it was very intimidating. It was very intimidating, and that was my first experience.
Hmm.
You know, I've grown up with my boys, and they've gotten in trouble so many times and gotten locked up, but it wasn't the same because now it's happening to me.
Yeah.
You know, and like then at that point, I kind of thought, shucks, this is what my boys go through. You know, and but yeah, it was very intimidating. I actually went with them, and because the old man and my older brother was working with my old man that day, and they work in Mangere. So we went back to the scene of the crime, and they wanted me to tell my side of the story while it's still fresh in my head, and I told them. But I should have clicked because some of the questions they were asking, they were probing. You know, but I know that today, but not back then. And you know,
What does that mean?
probing, like they were really trying to get the answer out of me, like not the answer that I wanted to share, but the answer they wanted to hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Basically, putting like words in his mouth and saying to him, he's agreeing to what they were saying. Yeah. Without his own knowledge, not for him not knowing that he's agreeing to something that he didn't do, or maybe said or something.
Yeah, exactly. And the whole time they're taking notes, I saw them pull out their little notepads, and then I said, "Oh shucks, this shit is real." I mean, but at the time, after I gave a bit of information, they said, "Oh, hold up, we got to read your rights." And I went, "Isn't that what you do at the beginning?" And they go, "Oh no, we can just do it anytime." But you know, me being gullible, I go, "Oh okay," you know. And but at that time when we stopped, my dad and my older brother rushed. And my older brother was like, looked like he was ready to knock them out. That was funny, bro. And then the old man goes, "Why do you bring my son here?" You know, like any old man would do. And then he goes, and then they go, "Oh yeah, he asked to come." And then I said, "I didn't ask to come." He was standing there.
Wow.
It's like I had no choice.
Wow.
Yeah. But they actually put it back on me. And then the old man goes, "Did you want to come here?" And I said, "Yep."
Oh. Terry, open the door.
And I was like,
Terry, open the door. What do you mean? Terry answered the door.
But then I got out and I said, "Yeah, he wanted to come."
I told you.
Terry made him a cup of tea.
Shucks.
Too much stuff for our poly people, man. Shit.
Word. That's man.
Yeah, it was scary, bro. Because like at that point, I didn't know who to be scared of, like my dad or these guys. You know, and like I just that's why I mentioned like my perception of white people. They're up here, and so I saw, you know, and it's as sad as it is, but at that time I thought, man, these guys are higher than my dad, so I have to say yes to these guys. And I was like 19 at the time. I was, you know, considered myself an adult, but I still acted like a kid, you know. So the old man couldn't say anything because I said I wanted to be there, but in my mind I was saying, "Dad, if you can read my mind, take me home." Because man, honestly, I really want to go home, but I didn't know how to say it. Then the old man goes, "Oh, well, we're just gonna wait out here while you're doing your thing." And I think at that point, if the old man had taken me home, I wouldn't have experienced that whole, you know, that whole thing. And I think at that very point, that was the turning point. But I made my bed and then I had to lie on it because I said I wanted to be there, you know, even though I didn't want to, I didn't feel like it. Anyway, I went through the scene of the crime with them, and they were probing again. They actually, you know, I could start to hear like questions like they were blaming me. They said, "Oh, how did you put all the cash in the bag when you couldn't see?" You know, and stuff like that. And then I knew at that point, you know, I'm effed. You know, and I was like, well, I just did it. I didn't know that. I didn't know how I done it, but I did it. You know, at the time, I said I wasn't thinking. I was just thinking about my life. You know, and I said, and then they said, "Why did you help the robber out?" And I went, "What?" And I said, "Standard procedure of Amagad." Because when you have your induction at Amagad, they teach you that sort of stuff. They say, "Give the cash over. It's not worth your life. It's just paper at the end of the day." But little did I know that the actual company doesn't live up to their own rules. They don't. They're the ones that actually they're the ones that actually told the detectives to pursue me, because I didn't know that 80% of the robberies are inside jobs at Amagard, because they know the process, and like how I showed you, how I gave in detail how the process works. That's stuff you won't know if you haven't worked with them. And so so I ended up we ended up finishing and leaving, and then they just told the old man they're going to take me back to the station, Mangi police station, for questioning. And this time I was around about probably 7:30, and it was so fast. Went there, and when you're innocent, you just tell them everything, eh?
Yeah.
So I had already had a plan to tell them everything they wanted to know. So the old man said, "We're going to wait for you at home. Go in and do your best." And then I said, "Oh yeah, all good." And at this point, none of us knows what's going on. Like, we don't, but the detectives know. And at that point, when I told them like a few things about how it actually happened, and at that point where they didn't believe me about the whole putting the cash in the bag at night, when it was dark, that's when I think at that point they felt they had me. So that's why they took me into the police station. I think if they couldn't get anything from there, they would just drop me back home. But I gave too much information. Not that it's a wrong thing, because that's what you do. But the thing is that what I learned in hindsight, and hindsight's a great thing, is that you don't give anything to the police, because anything that you give them, they will turn that around. And I gave them so much ammo, and I didn't even realize it. We went back to the police station. I was questioned. I was interrogated. They left me in the room for hours on end without doing anything, no drinks, no nothing. And by the end of the night, I think it was about 6:30, 6:30 p.m. In the evening before we finished. And the whole entire time, the guy that was asking me questions, he started off being my friend, befriended me, got close. Then as soon as he got in, he just hammered me.
Damn.
He used things like, oh, I hear you go St. Peter's. And I said, oh, yeah. Oh, my son goes to St. Peter's. And I went, oh, mean. And so I felt that was like an invitation. Us as PIs, we like when people have things like that are
Common ground,
relative.
eh?
Yeah, common ground. And then I was thinking, oh, this guy really wants to help me. And that's what I
True.
thought. Yeah. But once he got enough, once he got in through that door, that was it. And he just started hammering me. Halfway through the interrogation, my phone rang. That was my old lady. And I said, oh, can I answer the phone? He goes, oh, yeah. Anyway, answered the phone. The old lady was checking on me, seeing if I was all good. And then I said, oh, I'll be out soon. Hung up. Then he goes, oh, can I have a look at your phone? And I said, oh, yeah. I'll go, why? And then he goes, oh, no, I just want to look at it. He goes, he grabs it, and he goes, I'll be back. Takes my phone
Oh,
and comes back in without the phone. And I said, oh, where's the phone? And he goes, oh, no, we're going to use it as evidence now. And I went, what? And I said, don't you need a warrant for that? And he goes, no, I didn't need a warrant for anything. He started being cocky at the time.
wow.
And then, and then at that point, when he started being cocky, and I was getting frustrated, like I swear I was getting frustrated, because after that, he started asking me questions that were real personal. And then and this is one thing that probably my family didn't know at the time, but I actually had a contract to France to play rugby in France, and it was for Toulon. And I actually, I was actually going to take it, but I told him all that stuff. And then once he started getting on his nasty side, he started being a real d-head. And he actually said to me, I put famous rugby players away for a living. And I said, oh, what's that got to do with this? Yeah. And I said, what's that got to do with this? And then he goes, no, because I can tell you're lying. And I said, well, I'm trying to tell you everything that I know, but you're trying to tell me that I did it. And he goes, I didn't say you did it, but you're now telling me that you did it. And I said, I didn't say that. So it was things like that. And it went on and on for hours. There was no breaks. Anyway, at the end of that all, I felt he didn't have anything. And at that point, they didn't. I didn't realize that 20 minutes to the end of my interrogation, that there was another person getting questioned for the same thing. And the guy was the one that trained me up, the co-worker, and they got fired for stealing the money. He was getting questioned in another room, but I didn't know that. And anyway, I came out. They dropped me off home. And then 20 minutes later, they came back and knocked on the door with a warrant to arrest me. And I think the whole family was there at that point. And I just heard everyone breaking down and crying. And my older brother was so pissed off that he looked like he was going to punch them. But just as he went to swing, because they were at the door at this time, they actually told my brother to shush, otherwise they're going to arrest him. And I told him, shush, bro, it's all good, I'll go. Because that's at the point they were going to arrest me. And he actually went to swing at them. And I just closed the door and he missed it and hit the wall and made a hole in the wall. And the detective saw it. And then they said, oh, you want to come with us too? And at that point, I just pushed them back, closed the door, told them I'll be back. And I went with them. And then they go, hey, come back. Because I went running down the ramp. They parked on the road. They go, hey, come back. We have to chuck the cuffs on you. And I go, if you... And then I said, I went and jumped in the police car because I actually wanted them to turn their attention to me, not my family, because I knew it was going to get worse. And I said to my brother, just calm down, otherwise you're going to end up with me. So I just did the thing and the family thing, and I went with them, jumped in the back of the car, and they escorted me back to the Mangere police station. And then they put me back in a holding cell. And then as they went to lock the door by me, and then the detective that was questioning me in the beginning, he said, I got you effing coconut. And I went, what? But at that point, I was like, I'm effed anyway, because they said they arrested me for it. And then, 40 minutes later, we're getting transferred to the Papakura station. And when we were going out, I see the other guy, the co-worker, and I was like, what are you up to? And he goes, bro, they arrested me for this too. And I was like, why? You didn't do it. And he goes, no, I know, but we'll just maintain our innocence. But that's what he was telling me. We got arrested, went to Papakura cells. I tried to go up for bail, got declined. And then the second time I went up to the courthouse, I got bailed in, went home. And then my family had a lawyer ready for me and stuff like that. They had a lawyer ready for me. And then the lawyer managed to get the interview tapes. And that's when I seen on there, I was watching my co-worker being questioned. And 30 minutes, so 20 minutes after I had seen him, 10 minutes later, he had given up everyone and he had thrown me into it. And But at that point, because I was locked up with him on remand, and he was saying the whole time, if anything comes of this, just blame me. And I said, I'm not blaming anyone because I know we didn't do it, And that's how gullible I was. I was real gullible. When I got out, and then I seen the tape, I felt betrayed because this is a guy I know, like outside of work, and I kind of grew up with. I did catch up with him a few times after he was fired, but it was never involving anything to do with a robbery. And long story short, I spent 2 years trying to fight my charges. We paid like an arm and a leg for our lawyer, what the old man did. I think it was all his savings. We didn't have much money then, but the old man used all his super. Just quickly, he asked me a question on the day we got robbed, and I came home. The old man goes to me, and I felt like, oh man, the old man doesn't trust me. But he asked me a question, and he goes, "Did you do it?" And I said, "No. Why would I do that?" You know. And then he goes, "That's what I wanted to ask." It's not until I got arrested, I went inside, then I actually realized what he was actually trying to do. Because it's a funny thing about time, me. When you get a lot of it, it makes you think about everything. You know, and not everything is positive. You know, a lot of these self doubt sinking at that time is when I got arrested, and that's when I was locked up by myself in at ACRP, which is the prison next to the Rock or Mount Eden, they call it. And that's where you go for remand and until your sentencing. Um, yeah, and so I had a lot of time to think, and I was going up for sentencing the next day, which is weird because you don't do that. You know, you spend about a week or two before the probation officer can go find ways in which you can get a lower sentence. And they come back with with a time, because the main thing is when you go inside, they want to see that you have family support on the outside. If you have family support on the outside, that's a good thing. And the thing is that it's like called a pre-sentence report. But the whole time, that whole night, that was the longest night of my life. And I actually was thinking, oh shucks, I'm not going to get much because it's my first time. I was just justifying it in my head. The next day, I came back to Manukau courts, and I stood on the dock, and when the judge slammed his hammer and he said I got 5 years, I went, what? And I was, I think that's another point in my life where it just got really. I could hear my family crying in the background, and because you can't do anything once you get when you like, especially when you get found guilty in your trial, and it was a jury trial. It was unanimous that they found me guilty on the charges of. So one of the things I wanted to say, I was the first person. You remember that phone I was talking about in the beginning? So they found me guilty on one string of evidence. Basically, there was text messages made to the person that robbed us in between our trip from Mangere Airport to Mangere Town Centre. There was 5 text messages sent. And so when the detective took my phone, he found all of that stuff. But he went to Vodafone to pull all my messages out. And that's when I asked, well, they didn't have a warrant to collect my phone. But I told the lawyer, and man, this lawyer was useless. We paid.
And she wasn't any lawyer. She was the best lawyer in New Zealand. So I don't want to drop names, but she was the best in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So just you can kind of imagine how much money the old man put towards her. Because I think once we reached out to her, the family thought, oh, her being the best in New Zealand, we thought, man, he's going to get off.
Yeah.
Do you reckon she tried?
You put that hope in it. What was that, bro?
Yeah. I think she did, but because at the end she cost almost 70K.
Damn.
And for 70K,
Yeah.
that's a quid and a party for like a whole year. That's just how I put it. So I actually, even though I say yes at times, I don't think she's done enough.
Yeah.
Because being innocent, I shouldn't even have gone through that experience. So the whole entire time I was in, like, I felt like I was in denial, and again I come back to that whole white status. Say, because they said it to me, I actually believed it. I said, oh shit, I did it. And and I was in denial the whole time. The next day I went up for sentencing when he slammed the hammer and whatever they call it, and he said 5 years. Oh man, I was just like, I'm really.
What was the look on the lawyer's face when he slammed 5 years on you? It's really interesting that you spent that amount of money and the outcome came the other way. Do you think that she had ties with higher people in the police force or something? No,
Do you,
I don't
do you
know.
know what? Sorry, this is my experience. Sorry, before Ian can answer. So my experience of the whole thing is the leading investigator and our lawyer, like they spoke basically every trial,
Oh
like
man.
every case, basically. The hell's going on in this background? But they
Sorry,
spoke
there's
and they were
Bro.
Sorry, Undertaker's coming.
Yo, what's going on in that background, bro? Yo,
The lawyer is coming in the door.
watching you through the windows, are they?
Don't say anything about the lead investigator.
And for my experience was scary. That's scary, bro.
Holy shit. Don't open the front door like you did. Just open the door. Just let them in. Just let them in.
So you were saying that they're communicating with each other a lot during the trial?
yeah. So throughout the trial, every time we went in, they spoke to each other like it's like they were friends, and that's how we got it. It was a bit weird because when you see like the detective, the Crown against Ian, in this case, it was kind of weird to see them get along with each other, like talk,
Yeah.
have a laugh, and you like from a distance, it's
That's not
from
even
someone
professional, bro. Hey,
from
it's almost
from
not professional, eh? Like to see that shit.
like
happen, eh?
like for
Yeah.
us, you're meant to defend us. Doesn't matter. You don't
Yep.
talk to them. That's how I was thinking, and I was like, man, this doesn't look right. But hey, I don't know how the court work
Yeah.
runs. So
Yeah, well, they still got to do their, they still got to put the offers up, see if your client will take this, all that shit. So
Yeah.
I guess they still had to communicate, but to be joking around and shit, and then, mate, it's your life in their hands, eh? Because
Bro, straight up. That's someone's.
I used to work at the prisons, bro, and all you hear about is how much they spend on these fucking lawyers, bro. And it's
Yeah.
like those days, 70K, bro, you're not wrong. That's a lot of money. Where these days, bro, they just throw that. They throw that. So, bro, yeah, that's a lot of money, man.
70K back in
Bro.
what 15 years ago. Just imagine that, man.
Mm.
I because I was that young, I didn't know how much the old man was paying, and to me, I thought, oh, this lawyer is like the best in town. If you honestly go and Google the best lawyer, and I don't want to say a name, but it'll pop up straight away.
Chat, go and Google the best lawyer.
Yes, chat.
The best defensive lawyer or defense. What was it?
No. So how it went is that the reason they were quite close is because she was the best Crown lawyer. She changed sides and she became a defense lawyer. So like she was actually close, like a family friend. So she actually trained one of our cousins up to be a lawyer, and he became the first Cook Island criminal lawyer in the country or in history, really. And so our cousin passed away. It was a tragic death. So we kind of already knew who to go to, and because my cousin's old man is my dad's older brother, so we kind of had that's kind of how it all worked out and how she became our lawyer. But again, and honestly, I'm not being racist or anything. Every time I talk about white, their white sort of status, my wife is Palangi, so I actually adore her and stuff, and the culture. So I'm not being racist when I say this, but that's just how I felt at the time. And when we got her on board, again, we put her up on a pedestal and we thought, oh, everything's going to be fine. Even though throughout the whole time, when we had meetings with her, and I was telling people inside, they said, bro, that shit's on them. That's their work. She made you do all of her work, and I, in hindsight, like I said, hindsight's a great thing, eh? When you know better, but the thing is, you can't go back in time and change it. So that's how it all worked, and that's why their relationship with the Crown lawyer, he was kind of new to the game. But like Terry said, it was too close for our liking because they felt like, okay, um, you're teaching them and you're teaching them through a trial, which you're trying to quit me. and it just felt like I was betrayed because, to be honest, to answer your question, Chris, the look on the lawyer's face, I didn't even know. I still don't even know. I've actually forgotten what she looks like. That's the truth, But every time she comes up on TV, because she's a high-profile lawyer, she's been on TV quite a lot. I remember her like it's yesterday. But I like that whole time, the first time when I got found guilty in that courtroom, even the time I got sentenced and got given 5 years, it felt like I was the only one in the room. I couldn't see anything, and that's what that experience felt like because I felt like, to be honest, it felt lonely. It felt real lonely, and I kind of understand what people go through when they think they're the only ones going through that. It's just them in the room. There could be thousands of people around them, but they don't see them. I didn't see the look on my lawyer's face. I didn't see my family. I didn't hear anything. Yet their courtroom was packed. But I'll tell you one thing I did see, because I was at the Manukau courts, and this image is like engraved into my head for some reason. But with the main courtroom where we were, it was upstairs, and it had a big ass window behind the judge. And then all I saw was the roller coaster from the Rainbow's End, because the Rainbow's End was in the back. That's all I saw. Their whole experience, that's all I saw. And I don't even know today why that's the only thing that stuck in my head. And maybe I think about things like maybe at that point I knew I was losing my freedom, and that thing I wasn't going to see for the next 5 years. I don't know. I thought I know these days. But yeah, I got sentenced to 5 years, and then I got escorted back down to the holding cells. And then there was a whole lot of other people that got found guilty. And I was like going, oh, damn. But one of the guys that came across me, and kind of, resonated with me, he was actually coming down the stairs with me. He was in the other courtroom. He got 5 years. And so when you get escorted down, you got to wait in the hallway before they unlock the door, before they put you in the cells. So we're waiting in there, and I was talking to him. And he goes, oh, how much do you get? And I was like, oh, 5. And he goes, damn. And I went, hey. And I was like, oh, what? And then I was like, oh, bro. And then I go, how long did you get? And he goes, 5 years. And I said, what are you saying? They like months long. And then he goes to me, bro, this is your first charge, eh? And I went, yeah, bro. And he goes, bro, that's long, bro, for a first timer. And I said, well, how many times you been in? And he goes, oh, this is my 7th time. And this is the longest I've got. And I went, oh, bro. I was going, oh, I got ripped off.
Oh, bro.
And I was like, yeah, bro. And I became friends with this guy. And we got put in a cell with 4 other guys. We were all the guys going back to the Rock. And then I asked the prison escort, I said, where we going? And he goes, oh, we're going to the Rock. I mean, Mount Eden. I went, is that the same prison I was at last night? Because ACRP is the prison next door to it. It's Flash. Everyone calls that the hotel. And then when they said they're going to the Rock, that's, oh man, that's real time.
Oh.
That's real time. Literally, it's like a rock. It's like a room built out of a rock. Like seriously, bro. And Tom, to be honest, it's not that. That's the scariest part. When you're in a cell full of people that's already been there, they tell you what's happening on the main yard. And at that point, I was like, oh, fuck. And it was scary shit, bro. It was people stabbing people, and I was like going, oh. Oh, damn, man. I was like going, oh. I kind of sunk away in my own little corner while they were all talking about it. But, no matter what, you could block your ears or stuff, but you're still hearing the stories. And then it didn't stop there. We got put on the paddy wagon, and we were on our way to the Rock. And then they were still talking about it. And they go, oh, but did you hear about this other guy? But he got stabbed in the toilets. And I went, I just put my head down. And
I'm not going
like,
to beat you.
I was like, I thought it was just the movies. But I was straight up, bro. And I like, to be honest, I didn't even know if that stuff happened. But honestly, it got me, It got me. and we got escorted back to Mount Eden prison. Went through all our stuff. Before you get put into your cell, and these questions they ask you like, you feeling suicidal, stuff like that. And at that point you can't really answer questions like that. And I said, oh no. And then they go to me, oh, and I said, what happens if I am feeling suicidal? And then they go, oh, we'll just put you in segregation. And at that time I didn't know what sex was.
Yeah.
I was like going,
Oh no.
and I said, is that a better place than the main yard that I have been hearing about? And then he goes, and then all the screw said to me, or the prison officer said to me, he goes, mate, you don't want to go there, mate. And I go, why? And he goes, trust me, you don't want to go there. And I was like, oh yeah, all good then. And I go, where am I going then? And he goes, oh, to the menu. I was like, oh no. And I was like, oh. And then I just said to him, but he said one thing that resonated with me. He goes, you're gonna be all good, bro. And I go, what's that? He goes, are you from Maytara? And I went, oh yeah. And he goes, you're gonna be all good. And I went, oh sweet. I go, oh man, living in Maytara has its privileges. And then I just said, but I said, oh, all good. Anyway, everything was fine. Like I was normal. Then I got I got celled up with this Irish guy, and as I was walking up the stairs to my cell, things were normal. I was like, fuck, this is pretty. This is what the inside of a prison looks like. I was just totally got gullible at that time. So many emotions still running through my head, and then they put us in the cell. And bro, the cell doors of these of the Mount Eden prison, they're like thick as steel, eh? Like the screw that was locking us up, it was a big fella, eh? And he struggled to open that damn door. And then I just went, oh my gosh, man, I'm gonna get put behind those doors. And then what hit me, and this is one of my first, I guess, learning points in my life, was everyone that has done time, they always talk about the time when you get put in your cell and that door closes behind you. And that's when it really hit me. Shucks, my freedom is actually gone for the next 5 years. And like I said, again, I was in a bad space in my head, and there was no one around. My cellmate wasn't there. I couldn't see him, and I started thinking, and it was stupid. It was real stupid when I look back on it. But even I grew up, with God in my life. Even though I wasn't active at the time, I knew God was real. And the one thing you get taught as a young Polynesian kid is that it's a sin, to take your own life. Even though I didn't ever know what that meant, you always tell yourself every day, like not every day, sorry, when you get to your hard times in life, don't do that, And I think some part of that, some parts of that was, I was thinking about the old man, would it give me a hiding if I try to do that? Stuff like that. It was, but but that experience plays on your mind. It plays on your mind, and yeah.
Shot, bro.
Inspirational, bro.
Shot for sharing.
So for just a comment from Donny, and regarding your roller coaster. So he said maybe life is like a roller coaster, also a lot of highs and lows, but at the end of the ride, it's what you make from the experience. So that's a great one to share. Thanks, Donny. And
Thanks, Tony. Sorry, guys.
No, it's real good. Took your time, bro.
I used to work. I was at Rory Menzel's. I was a screw there for 2 years, and it's one thing to hear your story, and like you said, man, like these guys have not seen it, I totally understand where you're coming from. Like it's like I've never been locked up, when I worked there and just walking out at the end of my shift, I felt like I was being released. So I could imagine how it was for everyone else that's in there, that's got
That's in
no chance of, until their time is up. Shucks, it's just you can't explain. You can't
it's-
explain it like that's.
Well,
And
it-
to see
right.
it, man.
Sorry,
Nah, it's a
guys.
big ups
No,
for
it was
you.
all
Big
good.
ups to you.
Mad props,
Sharing
man. No, thank you for sharing your
your
story.
festivals.
Chat is blowing up, sending their love, but man, I don't even know. Like, if for me to put myself in that situation, and that what's that? The anvil slams, and you're 5 years, and you're like, nah, man, I'm innocent. And there's
Yeah, bro.
like,
It's
bro, your own life is not in your hands. Like, you can't even do anything. Part of the system in 5 years. Man, that's oof.
so I think from the outside looking in at all the stuff that Ian went through. It's I was young, so I was a kid, so like everything that happened to him during that time, it's like even I asked him one night when I was having a drink before he went in. I asked him if he had done it, and I think he cheekily said, "Nah, this is so bullshit." So I was really young, so I had like one can. I think it was something strong. I can't remember, but for me being that small and seeing all this happen in front of me, and I think because our family was so close, to see someone go inside, we didn't know how to react because we put all our faith in like the lawyers, we put our faith in the system, we put everything to know that he is innocent.
Yeah. The
You
justice
knew,
system will do its play its part.
yeah, you just let everything happen. Like, oh yeah, sweet, we're gonna see him come out, and then like Ian said, once the judge hit the hammer, I looked at the lawyer. She just basically just looked away and looked at the family because we were all sitting in one area, and she just closed her mouth and just gave us I don't know if it's a blank look or a look that she's lost something, and it's crazy because you only look at her once, and then the next thing you're looking at is seeing your brother get cuffed up, walking out of the um out of the courtroom, and
Right.
that's it. And then straight after that, you don't see him. You don't know where he's gonna go, where he's gonna be sent.
Yeah.
Um, the one thing that made me not laugh, it wasn't funny because I was probably crying hard out too at that time when he walked away, as because once he gets, I think once the judge says blah blah blah, you got 5 years. He then stands up. Everybody else has to stand up, right? Because he's leaving the courtroom. And then I think one of the security said to my mum. My mum was crying, fully crying, sitting down, and she goes, "Ma'am, you have to stand up." And my mum said, "You shut up. I'm gonna sit down and cry." And in that time, it was sad, but because seeing my mum crying like that and the old man just walk out, I don't know. I didn't see him if he was crying or not, but he walked out as soon as we got out of the out of the courtroom. We saw the two detectives walk out, and yeah, it was crazy because the whole family just stood there and blocked him, basically blocked him in. And he said, "Excuse me." Nobody looked at him, so he had to walk right around throughout the doors, and just just everything built up because we saw how he was treated and basically what happened throughout the whole thing. They planned. They basically put him in a place where he wasn't meant to be. They planned everything from the get go. Before that, before he even got arrested, they planned to put him in, and that's how everything is these days. Some people go through that sort of stuff. I spoke to Ian earlier, a couple of hours ago, and I said, "Bro, there's so many people inside that are fighting their innocence, and I think your you're one of them. So although although everything, there's always something to take out of it, and everything happens for a reason. Um, it's hard to run it back 15 years and to feel that heartache come back again to when he's sharing it. So thank you for sharing it. If you want to continue, you can keep going, bro. But it takes someone with a huge heart, or that's strong to share their journey, because not many people out there want to put themselves on on the screen.
No, thanks, bro. And thanks,
Yeah.
boys. I mean, I didn't have much more to share. But I just wanna just share a little bit more just about that experience inside. Because this was that experience that changed my life. And it made me the man I am today. Basically, yeah, about that experience and how I felt in my first night when I was locked up. Um, you know, it was enough to break a man, and it broke me. Like I was going to take my life that night, and I said a prayer. I didn't pray like straight up. The only time I do pray, but the only time I actually thought I meant it was the day before my before the verdict, and I was praying hard. I was praying hard, and I actually thought, shucks, bro, God's gonna get me off because that's what He does. If this God that my parents talk about is the man that He is, or the God that He is, He'll get me off this because He knows I'm innocent.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of lost trust in God after that. And to be fair, when I think about it now, I didn't have any foundation from, and that's why I said that. Um, I said a prayer that night when I got locked up, and to be honest, the only reason I didn't take my life that night, there was nothing to kill myself over. One thing they do really well in prison is they make sure there's nothing to take, or to do things like that to harm yourself. The most I could do was probably go on the top bunk and try and fall off or something. But it's I actually was I was broken. I was broken. I said to God in my prayers, take my life, because I have nothing better to do with it. You know, if taking my life is not worthy, then you do something with it. And for the next 5 years, He worked on me and in my life, and I didn't even know it. The funniest thing about God is that when you pray and you mean it, and you want God to actually work in your life, He actually does it. And when I said I prayed and asked God um, to let me out of prison, then I got found guilty. He still answered those prayers. But the problem was is that I didn't see all the red flags prior to that. The old man told me prior, when I was working for Amaga, we used to do martial arts as kids when we were young, and we had to choose because the old man couldn't afford the fees for martial arts and rugby at the same time. He taught us to choose, so we chose rugby. Then most of our teen life, we stuck to rugby and we enjoyed it. But we also enjoyed martial arts. But the old man said, now that you're working at, oh my God, you need to know how to defend yourself. So I want you to go back to martial arts. But at that point, I said, Dad, I'm all good. You know, being a cocky little boy, I thought I was all good. You know, but one thing I know about my old man, that when he says things, he's always right. As much as it pains you to accept that, but he's always right. There's a lot of stuff he said, and it's come back to haunt us, say, and that was one of it. And I didn't listen. That was the first red flag. When we got robbed, I listened to my bosses and said, hand the cash over.
Hmm.
That was going to be detrimental to my life from that point on, because handing it over means you actually willingly worked with the robber. Um, After the experience that I felt in those cells, I woke up and surprisingly, I kind of felt refreshed. I think that the emotions that came over me when I wanted to take my life the night before was it drained me, and like I never felt, I never known what it feels like to hit rock bottom, but I hit rock bottom that night, and then I remember later on, someone said to me, "Hey, bro, we all hit rock bottom sometime or another." But his mum told him that when you hit rock bottom, the only way is up, and
Mm.
they kind of like felt, I felt it. I
Yeah.
felt it. All those experiences that I mean, sorry, all those things that the other inmates were talking about in the cells, holding cells, and on the ride to the rock. It really came to the forefront when I was gonna be released into the main yard. I didn't take up sex, by the way, even though it
Good
was still
boy.
on my
Good
mind.
boy. Also.
It was
Oh,
still on my mind. I
wow.
was
They wouldn't
thinking,
be in six.
yeah, exactly, and I'm so glad I didn't choose that. And like for a lot of people who don't understand what it means, like seriously, your sentence gets harder if you go to segregation because that's where all the, I don't know how to put it. How would you put it, Muff? Like
It's
that's
basically
where all the rapists go.
rapists, pedophiles. So it's like they're all targets, basically.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you don't want to be in there. It's people
It's
lie
protect.
to get in that wing just to get to those guys. So
Yeah,
it's that bad that's you don't want to ever go in there.
Wait, say that again, Muffy. People lie.
So yeah, so as an officer, you get like a prisoner come up to you and say, "Oh, I'm fearing for my life. I need to be protected. I can't be in mainstream anymore." And they'll try and sign over to SIGs, but they've probably been sent from their chief or president to go get somebody who's hiding in SIGs.
yeah,
So there might be a rapist in there that's coming to your prison, and he's ended up in SIGs for protection.
Oh,
And the boys need to get him. The only way to get him is to get
yeah,
somebody to sign over. So we do a whole investigation on why he wants to sign over and all that before we actually consider putting him in there.
yeah,
And usually, just so there'll be finals until they see someone they want. All of a sudden, he's feeling scared for his life, and he wants to go in
yeah,
there. But he's just trying to get that guy. But you basically got all your pedophiles, your rapists, those guys locked up in segregation, and they're only there for protection from the mainstreamers.
yeah. Snitches, they go there for protection, and
Yo,
but these always are and they're you guys are all in the same prison, and
yeah.
so that's sort of like what I was told. I went out onto the main yard at that time, and to be honest, everything that the guys were saying on the way to the rock, it was worse. What I saw, like I, I was like, what? Like straight away, like, but you can't do shit, bro. You're like, you can't even help the guy. You got to leave the guy alone, and you just got to
oh
do your own
man.
thing. And that's when I experienced for the first time because they got phones, pay phones in the yards, or on your first in your first time in the yard, don't go to the payphone. People get stabbed over that sort of stuff, and those are simple things to us, but they're not. That's how they keep their comms with their family, and people. Like I've seen so many fights over the phone, and it's not even funny. Like straight up, that's when I thought, man, wow, because you can't have phones and when you're being locked up, so that's a charge. So they use those phones, the pay phones, and but I learned to stay away from the phone. And a few inmates told me that this is what you do, and they said don't sit down when you're in the yard, walk, do something, because someone will come and start something with you. And a lot of times they did, and as proud as I was, some people was trying to step up to me, and I was like, fuck, I could smoke this guy, but you just don't know who they're connected to in the yard. And at the
Mm-hmm.
in the yard at one given time, there's over 100 people, 100 inmates, and you can't look down on anyone, even if they're skinny. Sometimes they're the highest ranked. They're the highest
Oh,
ranked
oh,
in their club, and so you just can't. And even if you look at someone, if that person didn't give you a permission to look at them, they will step you out like straight up, and you'll just get trouble non-stop. And, you know, also I wanted to go back to their whole experience between sex and mainstream. See, in prison, we judge you on what crime you committed, eh? So the ag robs, the assaults, we consider ourselves higher than the rapist and all that. We consider them the scums of the prison, and so, which is sad because we're all in there for the same reason, technically. But that's how it's looked upon. It may the people definitely frown upon it on the outside, but it's worse on the inside. So when people go in for those crimes, I already know, being out, or someone's going to get to that guy.
They're gonna get him,
You know?
yeah.
Yeah, they're going to get this guy, and this you won't hear about it on the outside, but the job's being done, and you know it's like these little hits going on inside. People going from people talking about things like just give them a bash to even probably taking your life, but all I can say is that prison, like, shit is real. It is real. It doesn't happen all the time like the movies do. Like, see, and I was watching a whole lot of prison movies before I went it. I don't know why, but but that doesn't make anything better. But yeah, I actually didn't realize Mount Eden was a transit prison, so you don't actually stay there. When they finally they actually shift you off to somewhere else in the country, and I didn't know all this stuff. So here am I thinking I'm going to spend 5 years in the Mount. In the rock, and I said, "Well." 2 weeks later, my name was caught over the mic, and I was part of the ones going down to Remitaka prison, which is down Wellington. And I was going, "What?" And to be honest, and outside, I have never been to Wellington. And I was like, "Oh shit!" My first time in Wellington.
Free trip to Wellington.
In the cell.
Let's go.
And first flight.
First flight too. I was like, "Oh shit!" I don't know what this feel like.
Yeah.
But
One-way ticket. Let's go.
honestly, bro, I was moving up in the world after that. Gee. I got sent out to Wellington, and when you get sent out to Wellington, they got pods, and then they got like units. Units is where you want to get to. It's like a camp, but in pods, you just stay inside inside. It's like in American prisons. You stay inside. You do your yard time inside. You don't get to see the light of day. You spend 23 hours in your cell, and then an hour on the yard. That's all. Well, the yard was inside, and I guess my other experience I came across was what I had experienced was when there was a mistaken identity, and there was actually a hit on me, but there wasn't. By then, I had met a few friends down there, or some of the Usos down there, some of the 61s, and they actually alerted me to this thing, and I just looked at them and I go, "What?" Okay, "What do you mean? What are they gonna do?" And then he goes, "Mate, all we can do is just give you this," and they gave me like a little shank, and I went, "Oh." I go, "What? What do I do with this?" And then they're going, "Also, protect yourself." And I went, No, I don't want it. I gave it back to him because when you're in the yard, you get searched when you go back into your cell. And I said, "Where am I going to put it?" And then they go, "Bro, the screws already know. Just put it down your sock. They're not going to check." Bro, I was sacking it like straight up. I was like, "What?" And then it happened so fast, because and so yeah, there was a club that to put a hit. I won't say their names. And then so what was going to happen? I was in the cell by myself, and they said the screws are going to move into another cell. They're going to free that cell up so that the new lot of inmates are going to come in. They need to fill those cells. And then I said, "But why me?" But they moved everyone out that was in single cells so they can free it up, and they moved us into a double cell. And so I got set up with this guy that was supposed to do something to me or take me out. I had the shank, and like the also said, like, bro, he said exactly what he said. He didn't the screw didn't check me. I went into the cell, and that whole night I didn't sleep. Like, honestly, I was scared. Like,
Was the
straight
screw
up,
stab on? Was the screw also? Did the boys tell him, "Hey, they checked the
he was an islander, and they had connections. They had connections with the Usos. And so I at that time, I didn't know how things work. you know.
Yeah.
But it pays to have friends, and that's all I can see. And like, I was a mistaken identity. They thought this club thought I was this person that done something to them on the outside. And then I was going through or recollecting all my. I was like, man, I shouldn't have done that with the boys. I was like, damn it! Oh, I should have. Oh, bro. And there was so many times when I went with the boys and we done something, and it wasn't good. And I was like, oh man. And it could be any one of these guys. They probably remember me. And then I was like, damn it. And anyway, I stayed up the whole night. I didn't even go sleep, but nothing happened. When they unlocked the cells in the morning, I walked out. The other members were standing down at the bottom because I was on the top tier, and they just looked and they were like shocked to see me walk out the door. And then I was like, bro, I was happy to get out of there. Eh? Then all the Usos got unlocked and they go, oh, shows. And then we went into the yard. And then I don't know what happened, but apparently that guy got depatched and stuff like that because he didn't follow through. Later on, they found out that I was the wrong person. I was like, hey, what? So that was another turning point in my life. Sorry, I laugh about it. It's not funny, but you know, at the time, it wasn't funny. It's just one of those things. It's just every time I think about it, I think, yeah, my life could have been taken that night, but you know, so is every other night. I was gonna take my life. So, you know, on that first night when I was spent in Mount Eden, so at the point I didn't really care. You know, I didn't really care for my life. I said, oh yeah, sweet, this is the life I'm gonna live. I'm gonna be a real a-hole, you know. And then I spent probably about 6-7 months in the pods before I got sent to the units. I got shifted all around the units and I experienced all the units. When you go to the units, they're run by different crews. So you got to kind of be careful. You got to be in the nose about who's running what, because you do something wrong, you step out of line, that's you, you know, and that's how easy things can happen in there. They might not happen every day, but that little thing that you do that's probably against what they believe in, that's you. Um, I eventually got moved to a unit. It's called the Faith Unit. I wasn't trying to get to the unit, but because I knew people in some of the units, so I was kind of prepared to stay there. But because I put in an application to go move there, they try and move you around until a space opens up in their unit. And the Faith Unit is just a unit that's run by Christians, and it's for people that are like, you know, searching for God. But at that point, remember, I told you I didn't believe in him. I said I wanted to go there just to have an easy leg or sentence, sorry.
Yeah.
And you know, so I done my rounds and I ended up in the Faith Unit. But the minute I got to the Faith Unit, it felt different. It felt really different. It didn't feel like prison, even though you were in prison. And like everyone felt like it's almost how you meet people outside. Like everyone was just caring. You know, they don't no standovers. And then I was thinking, man, shucks, this is really different. So one of the experiences when you're inside, you kind of change with the environment. But still at that point, it took me like 6 months to get used to like how the unit was run. Cut a long story short, this is my third and final experience in my life, and it's one I'm totally blessed with, you know, eternally, because that was the time when I actually met God and I experienced God. A lot of people do Bible studies. They do their own Bible studies in the unit, and I went and done some real deep studies, and because I think going back to my prayer at the mount before, I thought I wanted to take my life. I actually prayed and asked God to take my life, right? But I also asked him, you know, the next day I had another prayer with another inmate, and he showed me a Bible, and I looked at it. It was a Old King James, and you know, from my understanding, the Old King James is really hard to read, and I've never read it, but that was my perception. And he asked me to read a few passages, and I didn't really understand it. And then and he said to me, mate, it pays to understand the word, especially when you're inside. This is your first time. If you get to know God, the rest of your leg will be easier. And I thought, oh yeah, whatever, And but I prayed that night with that day with them, and my prayer was simple. It was just, Lord, let me get to know you, and that's all it was. Because I really didn't want to pray, but I wanted to say something so that I don't disappoint the other guy. Who's earnestly trying to, pray for me. So that's all I said. And then fast forward to this time, I felt that the prayers were being answered. I didn't know it. I went through some real deep ass studies with these guys. The guy I prayed with that second night when I asked for the Lord to let me get to know him, he was the same guy that I met in that unit. So we went in around a full circle and we met up again. And he goes, "Oh, oops, is that us?" And he asked me for a Bible study that first time. And I said, "Oh, no, it's all good." And he asked me again. I said, "Nah, it's all good." And he goes, "Okay, no, all good. Just let me know." He keep asking me 6 months straight. And I say, "Oh." Then to shut him up, I said, "Oh, all good. You know, I'll do a study with you." Went into a cell and I said, "What's the worst that could happen?" And we had a prayer. He opened the Bible, and we went for a study. And just the way he 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 illustrated the characters in the Bible, I could see me in those characters. And if anything, those characters in the Bible were far worse than me. They did they did crimes that they were unforgivable. But they were forgiven. And that was the thing. And I thought, man, because I felt like I wasn't worthy after being in prison. I just said, because of their unworthiness, I just said, man, stop. Well, I said, if the world and if everything, because I just didn't want to care anymore because I spent my whole life trying to be this good person, and then it's just taken away. You know, all those emotions came to the forefront. They study again, but this time it was going to be put to rest, and that's when I really I felt the presence of God. There may be people on this podcast that probably don't believe in God, but that's cool because I didn't either.
Yeah.
And I actually hated him. I blamed him for him putting me in there. But that man was about to change my life, and he was about to change my life from the inside out. You know, I've been doing a lot of things in my life prior to going to prison, trying to change my life from the outside in. That's never the way to go. Like I said, when you got nothing in there, and when you get put into a position where you feel like the only one in their room, and you're left to contemplate on all those thoughts, and you got the time to do so, that's when all those doubts start sinking in. This time I had the same doubts, but I had God in my life, and He was taking care of it. I still didn't know what that experience felt like, and then towards well, I didn't know whether I was going to get released because after all, I got 5 years. You go up for to the parole board on your third, but no one gets released on their third. Um, they said one person got released down at Remitaka on his third. This was in the 80s, but this person was a man of God, and I thought, shucks, and I was like, man, that's powerful, and it turned out to be a true story. And this guy got a longer sentence than me. He got like 20 years, and on his third, when he went up, he got released, and I was like, I want what he had, but how do I get it? But little did I know, it wasn't the answer was right in front of me. It was inside me. I carried on my journey. I started changing, and then I felt I was at a point where I was quite strong. Then my mate that took me through studies got kicked out of our unit. So the Christian group that they're from the outside. They always come in every Sundays. The Christian group that took our program, um, they weren't happy with this guy and his studies. They felt it was wrong. They try to shut it down. They're only successful when they remove them from the unit. So he's probably the first person that ever got kicked out of a unit for doing nothing wrong, for actually taking studies. And by that time, he had changed 10 of the men. He had changed all our hearts. And like and it was genuine too. Like I've never felt like this before. And I finally got to understand the Bible, and what I was reading. I was like, wow, it's coming up to me, And I put it back. I give it back to that prayer. Anyway, I guess the challenge was still to come. I got invited into the prison officer's office, and when I walked into the room, there was the pastor. So our unit had a pastor, and I sat down with him, and he said to me, he goes, "How's your walk?" And at that point, my mate had been kicked out of the unit, and I thought, "Oh, this guy's going to kick me out," because I carried on his studies, and by then I had 50 men in my group, like genuinely reaching out to God. And these are lifers, murderers. These are people, have done major crimes, but they weren't going to see the light of day. You
Yeah.
know, they were doing long time. Um, but their hearts were changing, and I felt, shucks, man, this is going to get me booted out. I read a letter to the other guy that got kicked out. He was in another unit. He wrote back. He responded and said to me, because I said to him, bro, I don't want to do this because I don't want to get kicked out of the unit because I'm finally turning my life around for the better. What do I do? And he said, put it in God's hands. He goes, one thing you don't want to do is stop. And I went, oh man, if I don't stop, I'm going to get kicked out. I don't think I was prepared for that answer, because I thought, man, maybe I can just put God to the side and go, keep everyone happy because I want to stay here. So many emotions were running, but I didn't want to stop. And then I was like, fuck. I had to make a decision, and I had made a decision just before I went in to see the pastor. So when he asked me that question, I thought, oh, this is the meeting. I'm gonna go. And he goes, and I said, oh, and he goes to me, don't be afraid. I know you're doing your own studies, and it must be good because I watched you from the first day you walked into this unit to now. You changed. You're real open. You talk to everybody. And I said, I called you in here before for two reasons. One, all the men in this unit who were very angry people, he said, nothing can change me in prison. And then they got put into that unit. They go, well, something can change you, and that's God. And they laughed. They laughed at it. So every man that was in my Bible studies were one of the men that got kicked out of all the units. No prisons wanted them, but they got sent to our unit because they scoffed at the thought that God can change their life. I didn't know that at that point, and that's what their pastor wanted to talk to me about. And I was blown away. And at that point, I grew strength to say, okay, well, if you're going to kick me out, kick me out. I'm going to carry on with these studies, because then it didn't become about me. It became about them, because I heard their testimonies in their Bible studies, and they were deep. They were so deep, and it was heart wrenching, and it was bad. They had bad upbringings, and which is what led them to prison. And it was real gruesome crimes, like some of the worst in the country. And here I am, you know, sitting there, confidently teaching them the word of God. And then the second question, and I was totally caught off guard, was that he goes, have you heard from? Because at that point, that guy, my co-worker, he was the one that put me inside, right? And so the pastor asked me, have you heard from him? And I went, what kind of effing question is that? And I think at that point, that's when I thought, shucks, I haven't forgiven anyone. And, if I hate this guy, I hate God. That's what the Bible says, right? And I was like, fuck. But I couldn't help it. I was so angry. I was filled with anger. And I said, why the hell are you bringing him up? What did you bring me in here for? I was basically stepping the pastor out. I'll never do that. But he triggered something within me. And that's when I knew, shucks, I'm not a real man of God if I'm still angry. Anyway, he goes to me, he spent time in this very unit, eh? And I said, why do you have to tell me that sort of stuff? I didn't know he'd done his time down there. In the unit. long story short, he goes, "Oh, I'm just wondering if you're ready to forgive him." I said, "What? Forgive him? He's the hey." And I was like, I told that pastor, I said, "You're one crazy guy, bro." Because at that point, it was just me and the pastor. I said to him, and the prison officers closed the door. I said, "You do realize it's just me and you, eh?" And then he goes, "Yeah, I realize that." And I go, "You do realize I can just take your life right now?" And then he goes, "Yeah, I realize that." And I went, "Oh, this guy's funny guy, you know?" And I just went, "Bro, it took me a while to register and just actually think." And he goes, "Well, I've got him on the other line. Do you want to talk to him?" I said, "What?" So the whole time he's been on the phone. Guess why? He can't hear us, but he's just waiting to hear from you. And I was just, bro, you know, honestly, I was pissed off, eh? And I was like, something came over me. So I picked up the phone for some reason. He leaves the room, the pastor leaves the room. And I go, "What's up?" And then he goes, "Oh, hey, also, hey, I just wanted to say, sorry." I said, "Fuck, you got a nerve, bro. Straight up, you know, the whole time I was on the unit, um, I was planning, I had on this guy when I get out. That's how angry I was. I planned it before I started walking with the Lord, but I didn't realize I still had that anger towards him. Long story short, I said, "What's up? What do you want?" And he goes, "I just wanted to say sorry." I said, "Fuck, your sorry is not gonna do shit. You know, years of my life has been taken away because of what you said." And then I said, he goes, "Oh, there's nothing I can say. And I know you're gonna be angry, but I just want I ask for your forgiveness." And I go, "Bro, fuck, like straight up, bro, like I was just angry, eh?" And and something came over me, and I just said to him, "Fuck you. I don't want this shit. This is not my burden." And I go, "If forgiving you is gonna release that burden for me, then I hope it does so." And during that whole time, I was talking, like I just felt something come over me, and it just became easier and easier to talk to him. It became so easy, and like this is the guy I wanted to murder when I get out. Sorry to stay there online. I don't even know if you can say that, but this is the stuff I wanted to take his life, and I didn't care how I was going to do it. I didn't care about going back inside. That I felt I kind of made a decision in my life that that's the life I'm going to live. I wasn't trying to be hard or anything, but I just wanted so much to make him feel what I felt. You know, and to take years of a innocent man's life, I could have killed myself. You know, before I even got to that point, and all that stuff came up. Everything came up. And then at a certain part in the phone conversation, I said to him, "Also, if you really want the forgiveness, here it is. I forgive you." As soon as I said that, and as cheesy as it sounds, that's when I first experienced forgiveness. And it was a feeling I can't explain today, because I feel like people need to go through what I went through to experience that. Uh, you know, and it felt like a huge load lifted. I spent 2 years on a 24-hour curfew at home, and by that point, I had spent 2 years inside. And that whole entire time, I felt I've been carrying this burden for 4 years, and I could have just let it go, and life would have been so much easier. You know, why does it? And I go, why am I feeling all this? I was feeling great at that time. I finally felt whole, and and that's an experience that I wanted to share. And basically, you don't have to be a Christian to experience this. But what I actually wanted to share was, you know, you've got to find something to fill the void within yourself. It's not physical. It's spiritual. However you find that spiritual fulfillment, find it, because if you start filling it with negative stuff, that makes us think things, and it makes us think stuff that we shouldn't be thinking. And that's what I felt. Up until that point, I actually felt whole for the first time in my life. I went on to spend the next, the rest of my time, and I felt like I was free, and I was locked up, and that's the sort of experience that it's hard to share with my fams, you know, even the bro here,
Yeah.
because you kind of have to go through that experience to understand what I went through. Because when I got out, when I got after serving my time, I just felt like there's more challenges to come. Bro, I got out. The first thing I wanted was Abner's, right? Little Abner's. So I went with my brother-in-law to go get some little Abner's, and guess who I see? I start running into everyone that was involved in putting me inside.
Oh man.
Everyone, and I went, "What the, bro? Come on, God! You know he's a pretty funny guy, eh?"
Well done testing
And,
you. Eh?
yeah, he
Shit.
wasn't done testing me, bro. He bought the detective, and the detective was standing there with a spacey arcade game, and I was going into order. He saw me. He must have seen me coming because he kind of flinched when he turned, and then he just stayed there. And I went and made my order, and then my brother-in-law saw him. Everyone remembers his face. And my brother-in-law came in. We made the order, but he steps back right to the far left, and the detective's on the far right. I don't know, but he told me at the end of it, he thought I was going to do something to us. So he kind of stepped back, and then I just turned around. I knew he was on the side. I saw him when I came in. When I walked up to the counter, did my order. Then when I was finished, I said to my mother-in-law, "You're good." I turn around to the detective and I go, "Hey, detective, how's things?" And then he goes, "Oh, hey, how are you?" And I was like, "No, I'm all good. I just wanted to thank you, eh?" And then he goes, "What?" And I go, "I just wanted to thank you." And he goes, "Oh, okay. I just want to thank you. I think there was hidden blessings in me going inside. I'm a better man today, you know. So in some sort of way, you know, my family's still angry at you, but I'm not. I forgive you." And he broke down crying. Then when I walked away, my brother-in-law goes, "Bro, what happened?" And I said, "No, I just told him I forgive them." And he goes, "How can you forgive him for what he's done?" And I just said, "Bro," and I said, "My experience inside is like no other." And I said, "It's hard to explain it." But through that experience, it's what brought my brother-in-law and my sister. And if you know my sister, she's rough, eh? You know, we kind of didn't get on well as siblings, you know. And of 10 people, obviously we had the rivalries, and that's who my brother-in-law was married to. And but they got to experience some of that and witness some of that my life changing before them, and they were the first lot to sit down and study with me. And you know, I was forever blessed because I said this stuff can't happen without God. I can't do this on my own. So how is this happening? You know, my whole life was changing before me. When men in prison, they had they were scoffing at God. They will probably say, "Oh well, I'll stab you if you keep talking about God." They were changing, and I knew this you know this stuff is it's real. So you know stuff shit got real in my experience once I went inside, and everything that I felt, and also shit got real when I had that spiritual connection. And I sorry, I don't want to hold up anyone any longer. Sorry for going over time, but I mean I got heaps more to share, but I'll just close off with this experience, because I always want to end off with God, because I think without Him I wouldn't be here talking to you guys tonight. Sorry, I wouldn't be talking to everyone else that's listening. Sorry if anyone's fell asleep. Um, what do you call it? But I just want to give my blessings to you guys, and if anything resonated with you guys within me sharing my journey, just highlight me, talk to me if you really feel like it. If you want me to come back on and share again, I'm happy to do so. But I just want to also thank for the boys, the group, for allowing me this moment to share my story. Just remember, I have never shared this. and I've never shared this like this before. I've shared my testimony in the churches, but that's nothing like this.
Thank you, also.
Um,
Thank you.
yeah, but it's not. I don't want to glamorize my prison life. That's not what I was here for. I just want to share like as to what different points that changed my life, and it involved all those details. Um, you know, if people are angry at certain people within my experience, just try and hold it and leave it, because it's not worth it. It's not, honestly, it's not worth it. That anger, and once you let the anger go, trust me, you'll be a better man for it. There's still a lot of work I want to do with people, including my family, and maybe after this podcast, I can really have that deep talk with them, because as they really understand, probably now that some of the stuff that I shared, I haven't told them.
Yeah.
So yeah. But thanks, guys. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Dole.
Thank you.
There's a quick question from the chat. There was quite a few questions, and sorry, chat, we didn't get to it because I don't know whether to stop and have a laugh or stop and have a cry. Any of them, but the question is, do you think you would have found God if you didn't go through the whole experience?
That's a good question.
And we'll just take this one question, and after this question, we might just close up. So all the rest of the questions we can DM Ian, and he can maybe share his answers with us on our page, so we can share that at another time, or maybe part 2 of Ian's journey. So yeah, if you can.
I to be honest, short answer, yes. But I don't think I would know that. Like, to be honest, if I hadn't gone through this experience, because God can reach you anywhere. He reached to the depths of the earth and in the darkest place where I was, and he pulled me up. So if he can do that for me when I lost all hope for my own life, I think he could have done it. I always, this is what one thing I laugh about now, which I didn't before, is that I felt like this is what God always wanted me to be. Had I been that person before I went in, I think I would have been found guilty. But
Yeah.
I think what I'm trying to say is that yes, he probably would have, but I'm so grateful that this is an experience you can't buy. I
Yo.
wouldn't go for it again. I wouldn't go for it again. Trust me, and I don't wish this upon anybody. Prison life is it's real, bro. It's real. It's not something you want to do. Like, trust me, it's not something you want to do. So I don't speak lightly on that experience. When I see people get sentenced, and then I hear people go, "Oh, just put them inside," it takes me back a bit because they don't understand. It's easier to put someone aside, but their brother needs help. The sister needs help.
Mm.
They're not in this position because they want to be there. And none of us are in a position where we think the way we think because we want to think it. We struggle. We struggle. And, throughout my Christian experience, I'm not an active Christian at the moment, but, I'm getting back there. But I still remember my experiences. And I still love him the same day I met him inside. But all I'm trying to say is that once you find that true person, he will give you peace for the rest of your life. We're not living a heavenly life at the moment. If for those who believe in heaven, but we can live it. We can live it now. We can live it now. If we don't have that heaven in our heart, we're just giving, we're just giving those dark forces room to move within us in our walk. But definitely, sorry, bro, I had just went off the question. But yeah. God. I think I felt I would have found God outside if I, and it would have been this way. So there would have been no other way. But I'm blessed that I found Him this way, because I get to share it.
Thank you, Uzo.
Thanks, all.
Thank you, Dole.
So, bro,
Thanks,
so
boys.
just to top that all up, top that all off. Sorry, I'm not too sure if we usually end with a little advice. Um, yeah, we'll just end it off with advice from something to take away from this episode. We'll start off with Swanky.
Man, it's a heavy show, and thank you, Ian, first and foremost, for accepting my invite. Jump on the show and share your stories. Me and the whole chat. Well, much props, man. Much love.
Thanks, Sauce.
Massive journey, man. There's Jesus. For someone
Sauce.
innocent to go behind and do the time. So come back to share your story. Sure it resonates and sure it's touching a lot of people who's listening in through the podcast, watching. Just want to say thank you. Thank you for coming on and sharing your story.
Thanks, Sauce.
Ian, do you want to share or something?
Yeah. Oh, I actually had something that's always resonated with me, and it's a saying. I learned when I was inside. It was tomorrow's never promised. Seize the day. Take hold of what's today and win it. And that's all we need to do. Just take each day as it comes. Tomorrow has its own problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Uzo.
Thanks.
Buffy.
Oh man, I think the story was just too much for tonight. Eh? There's like so many things to think about, and then there's so many questions that just got answered in the one story. So I think tonight will be just a big thank you to Ian for sharing his story and opening up also, because it's, man, that was deep and that was real because I've seen it firsthand. So
Thanks,
thank you for
Sauce.
that. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah. This is Ian's night tonight. So thanks again, Os.
Thanks, Sauce.
Chrissy. Chris, you got something to add? And advice? Something to take away from the show?
Thanks, Ian, for your testimony. You hear a lot of these things happen in America and all that stuff, but to have it happen in your own backyard and to hear you say it from there is pretty. It's a tough one to go through, and I think you touched on it. Overall, God put you in this journey, and God put you out of this journey. I think He's got bigger plans for you, and I think everyone needs to get in touch with God at some stage, their spiritual life. And just also want to add that just hearing from the beginning, from what you were saying about growing up in the Catholic Church, and I think the Christian values was already embedded in you from the beginning. It's just you just tapping into it, and when you were going to understand God's word, and praise blessings over you and your family, and thank you for sharing the story.
Thanks, Togo.
Thank you, Togo.
Thanks,
Amen.
Dogs.
Thanks, Docs. So to end it off, just a big shout out to everyone that tuned in with us tonight and followed Ian's journey. Because he has I think a part 2, we might schedule it at a later date. But thank you to Ian, and thank you to all the families that did jump on the chat and message us. So again, we before I end, we go live every Thursday nights 8 p.m. And basically we try and we go deep and share experiences that that anyone out there might be going through, and hopefully at the end of it, there's a lot of positives to take away. And if you are going through a hard time, at the moment, and you need someone to talk to, we're here for you. Message us, send a DM, give us a call, but just know that there's someone there that's here to listen and to offer that shoulder. Yeah, man, that's us. Thank you, chat. Thank you, team. Thank you, panel. Thank you, Ian, Swanky,
Thank you
Muffy.
for having me.
This is the longest podcast we've ever done, and
all right, guys.
And it was a good one. It was a good one. It was a good one. So we'll do this again next week. And yeah, this is For the Boys podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thank you, team.
God bless.